I think at the end of the day, if it's something I believe in, that's great, but it can't just be that. I need to be well-versed in my company's objectives, goals, strategies, and tactics. And if this solution or proposal satisfies that, and it's in a way that I can measure that success, it's really a no-brainer, right? So I'm not asking for things that do not tie into our business outcomes or something that can't be measured. I will always have the firm and the attendee in mind. And with those kind of North Stars, I don't believe no is an answer because it's the right thing to do.
Hello and welcome everybody to today's episode of the Keynote Curators podcast. I am thrilled, truly excited for our guest today, Cheryl Trinidad, SVP of Conference Experiences. Is that right, Cheryl?
You're spot on.
Spot on. Cheryl, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm very stoked to just jam with you.
Where does the podcast find you today, Cheryl?
I'm in San Diego, hometown of San Diego. Just got back from Banff a few days ago, so happy to be home.
Sunny San Diego, home of Ron Burgundy, among other well-known celebrities, including yourself. Cheryl, I just want to share with our audience who, mostly are meeting professionals, event planners, conference planners, and anybody that really operates in that ecosystem. But more so, it's also for people that operate in business, whether it's for a corporation or on their own. And it's exciting to have you here because, you are, whether you care to admit it or not, a well-respected, sought-after industry expert with regard to event production, event planning, and in the world of meeting professionals. In my view, Cheryl, you're the whole package. You're, not just professionally, we share a love for food, food connoisseur. You're a wanderlust worshiper where you love to travel and explore and acquire amazing experiences. You're a music lover and an event professional extraordinaire. And, I've been lucky, and I truly mean it, to have worked with you in some of probably the coolest, hippest, uniquest situations and events and bookings that I've done in the near 20 years of me being a keynote curator. In the course of your career, you've worn everything from, being the chief bottle washer to the head cook and everything in between. Your knowledge, you have an engaging personality, and you create some incredibly impactful experiences. What's important for me is not just for the attendees of the events that you're responsible for producing, but for your team, for the people that you work with side by side. And that's really important, including vendors like me. So, in your own words, with that welcome, share with us where you're at now and what's exciting for you with regard to your career path.
Well, thanks for the amazing introduction. You're now my new PR person.
I think we could end it there and just say goodbye.
Yeah, mic drop for sure. Well, I've known you for, I don't know, maybe 15 at least years, Seth.
Yep.
And I've been fortunate enough to have worked in this industry for over 25 years. I've seen, nonprofit, medical education, medical device. I'm now in corporate planning, and where my heart is now is in financial services. So that's kind of been my trajectory in the event space, and also a CMP. I've been a CMP since 2004. So I think it's, that extra credibility and education also helps. What I'm really excited about right now in terms of trends and events, that I'm seeing currently is really around the people and the attendee experience. People are putting less value on material items, tchotchke, all your certain, things you would get at events, and more on the value of experiences, whether it's a unique location or an activation or a keynote speaker. Like, those are the things that people remember and what resonates with them. And I think that's important to know, that it's really about the experience and not just like something that you hold in your hand.
And that's been a shift, right? People, I think there's people are marking the pandemic as a before and after, right?
Hmm.
But in
Yeah.
post-pandemic, where we all in the meeting industry have realized the value of getting together, and it seems like it's amplified, that value has become more valuable and more worthwhile. And in the before and after the post-pandemic, realizing and understanding how valuable it is to get together, what we do when we get together has taken on even more importance. So it's not so much swag or a little tchotchke or a gift here and there. It's the experience that people can take away with them and have a lived moment where they learn, they grow, they connect. And I too see that happening in the event space. And those are areas where your creativity and your ability to execute that for your attendees, really comes into play. Talk a little bit about some of the ones that you've done recently or that you've seen or that you're excited about without giving any tricks or tips or secrets away, kind of what you see that attendees are grabbing onto.
I feel like we're looking at a more holistic approach to events. It's not just about the live event. It's what are we doing? How are we curating content, engagement pre-event, right? So we're building that story before the event is. And I think
Mm.
pre-pandemic, we were so concentrating on the actual live event. We didn't look at the entire journey. And so we're seeing a lot more thoughtfulness and being more purposeful with our communications plans, how we interject like speakers speaking to our attendees, video snippets and TikTok type of things that help create this engagement and excitement. And then also from a post-event perspective, what are we doing to keep that content either evergreen and keep those connections? So I feel like super exciting to me is now that's more of a standard. It's not just one and done. It's the entire journey from pre, during, and post.
Yeah, and for our relationship, and when I've worked with you or with all of my clients, really, we begin to spec out what do we want for the attendees. What do we want for them to have that they can utilize that's going to make an immediate and lasting difference, whether it's a message, whether it's an experience, a certain type of education. And that starts at the very beginning when you start the search,
Right.
because the search has to start with being anchored by the end in mind, right?
Hmm.
What we
Yes.
want them to have. And then you can kind of build that through line all the way through. And you can hang your hat along the way on, okay, pre event, registration, parsing out some of the content, getting people in touch with what's coming, and they can begin to percolate on it a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure. We need to just make sure they are experience the entire event and not just the live portion. And I
Yeah.
think, being able to tap into that is what makes an event evergreen.
Yeah. And then all the way through, there's the beginning, the middle, and the end. In the end, in the post, reinforce, underline, underscore, magnify, amplify those takeaways, those learnings that most resonated or are most, let's say, aligned with the messaging from the client. In this case, your company, where you want to, foment that messaging so that it's just carried through and it's not one peak experience on one morning of one day of the event. And you
Yes.
guys just do just such a great job with that. I want to
Thank you.
shift gears a little bit, Cheryl. I was just in Hong Kong and I was with Manny Pacquiao, who is somebody who's near and dear to your heart, being of Filipino heritage and Filipino descent. I just have to tell you, not only incredible Filipino, incredible human being. I was able to have a little foodie moment with some great restaurants. It did rain quite a bit, and I experienced my first typhoon, which, wasn't on my bucket list, but apparently it is now. But one of the things that I took away after speaking with the organizers there and the people that I work with is burnout. This is a very intense job. Not that others aren't intense, but it's very real. And for event professionals, this is something that we deal with. How do we manage or how do we take on the idea of burnout, avoiding burnout, or being able to mitigate and manage it as best as possible? This is some of the biggest contributing factors in the industry of whether there's worker employee planning satisfaction or not. and how a career can be prolonged or not. It's something that we as meeting professionals need to keep an eye on, learn how to transform it, and govern it and dominate it rather than have it being dominated ourselves. My question is for you, and I know you, I've seen it in person, Cheryl. And again, this is not like a fake blowing smoke, you know where. You take care of your team. You anticipate, you notice, you measure the room, you know when to intervene. Sometimes you're spot on, sometimes a little bit early, a little bit late. What are some of the things you do as somebody who manages a team, supervises a lot of resources, but you're so attuned and keeping your eye on that?
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything I feel like my superpower is having a very caring, high performing team. And in order to do that, you have to prevent burnout as much as possible. And I think the key to that, is from the top down. I need to practice what I preach, not do as I say, not as I do. So I'm very cognizant of making sure of my self-awareness and then making sure the team self-awareness for our well-being. During every meeting, we have checks like, how are you feeling, whether it's team meetings or one-on-ones, making sure that, we're tuning in not just on the professional side, but on the personal and career development side. So I feel like you need to take care of the whole person, not just your staff member. Like we spend a lot of time on the road and traveling. So these are what I call my tribe, my people, my family, however you want to do that. And I've got to make sure I give the team the power to set boundaries and to say no, right? We shouldn't be killing ourselves over this job, right? We need to be healthy people and happy people. And then the byproduct automatically is great events and high performance. So we need to be aware of that and take time off. I know it's never a good time. And that's even more reason why to take time off. You just got to take it. You got to make yourself take it. And if you have a team that cares for you and covers for you, you will feel fine leaving for vacation because we got your back. And so all of that trust is very important. And I'm very proud to say because of this team, we have these, poll surveys. It's gone up 30% since last year because the team is, commingling, trusting each other, liking each other. I mean, it's been a really big transformation, and I really am proud of the team for, taking a chance with my management style and really embracing it and taking care of each other.
Yeah, and it seems like the consistency or the through line is it's a holistic thing, no different than what you're serving your attendees with.
Right,
Um,
right,
and again, the through line before registration to the actual keynote or the event itself, not just the keynote, and then afterwards, the carrying that through, but also on site, that there's healthy nutrition, not just, some quick snacks and cookies and sugary stuff, which is fine and has its place as well. Or there's an opportunity to stretch your legs or even do a little meditation or yoga. And it's no different with your team, right?
right. Yeah, exactly. And I also feel a lot of burnout is caused when it's just the churn. You're going day in, day out, and it's on to the next event. And I think we need to take time to pause and recognize our wins and celebrate our successes. And I think that also is an antidote to burnout because you're being recognized and appreciated for the work you do. And if you don't do that, that's a big contributor to burnout as well.
Yeah, my own internal term that I use for meeting professionals is handlers. They just handle stuff. And
Right.
it's innate. Like many aren't even aware of it. It's just like literally in their DNA. So, situation, incident, problem, even if it's preventative, it's like, we'll get it handled. And like you said, it's never a good time. But having that habit of building in where you have to have the muscle to just stop, even if it's seemingly mission critical, is so, so important. And I've been on site with you, I mean, dozens, if not maybe 100 times or more. And over the past 15 plus years. And I've been at dinners or moments backstage or, you know, post sound check where the team is just, let's take a decompress and handle it. And I can't stress that enough in the world today where the value of meetings are that much more important in a post-pandemic world, and stakes are higher. People are expecting more. We want to deliver more. And at the same time, you need to have that ability to avoid burnout and refresh and re-energize. And I think that this is a rich conversation. We could go on, but I want to shift gears again.
Mhm.
And I want to talk a little bit about, there are a lot of stakeholders, right? You have people that, you have to report to. You have people that report to you. Specifically, when you have an item that needs to get buy-in from your stakeholders that are reporting to you or that you're reporting to, what are some of the styles, the skills? What's the mindset for you when you're looking to acquire that buy-in? And I'm not talking about convincing or manipulating or forcing something in, but an item that you believe in, whether it's a vendor that has a product or a service that isn't immediately like, yes, a hell yes, right away, let's do it. But it requires a little bit of, you have to enroll them and get people on board.
I think the key to that, it's really, as you said, it's not convincing.
That was a long-winded question.
It's all good. Because I think at the end of the day, if it's something I believe in, that's great, but it can't just be that. I need to be well-versed in my company's objectives, goals, strategies, and tactics. And if this solution or proposal satisfies that, and it's in a way that I can measure that success, it's really a no-brainer, right? So I'm not asking for things that do not tie into our business outcomes or something that can't be measured. I will always have the firm and the attendee in mind. And with those kind of North Stars, I don't believe no is an answer because it's the right thing to do.
Right. So you're taking into consideration your organization, your company's objectives, the current messaging, maybe even the mood, what their initiatives are, and mapping what it is that you'd like to have fulfilled or get buy-in for on top of that, but in a way that's coherent and authentically aligned, as opposed to being a dictator and forcing it in, because that never works.
Right. I mean, if it like I said, if it's aligned with the company's objectives, it's creative, innovative. I mean, I'm all for test and learning as well, but if it all satisfies, the end result of what we're trying to accomplish as a firm, then it should be good.
Yeah. And on that same breath, bringing in a previous comment about boundaries, we often get it the inverse, where somebody who might be senior comes in and they have what we call recency bias, Cheryl, where they see something and we have to have it, and it doesn't align with, or it kind of monkeys the momentum of what you've been creating and developing along the way. How do you handle that? Because at the end of the day, they are perhaps the final decision maker or the senior person. That requires some muscle as well.
Yeah. Again, coming from a place where, have you considered it this way? Or could we do it and find a happy medium? Again, I understand, matrix management. There are people that are making decisions above me. But if you come in as a SME, I'm a subject matter expert in the field, and I'm coming from this perspective, they're more apt to listen as opposed to, I'm just an order taker, tell me what to do. So I think for me, as long as I have the ability to voice my opinion and it's coming from a place of experience and I think it could be different or better, that's all I can do. If I get trumped, then, that's just corporate America, and we'll move forward and we'll measure that success. We'll always have data around, things we're trying new, whether it's in agreement with me or not. So I concentrate on things that I can control. What I can't, I could just do my best and see what happens.
Right. And data does help at least support a perspective. And you can, again, we're not here in a court of law or anything, but, get it on record. Here's my thoughts on this. And like you said, if the case can be made, it can be made. And if there's buy-in, there's buy-in. If not, let's move on and
Yeah.
we'll work with what we got, which is why I love working with you so much, because it's just like, all right, let's handle it, figure it out, and move on. Taking the data point, if you will, forward, what have you seen from your position, the use, effective, ineffective, warranted, unwarranted use of artificial intelligence in what you do as far as producing events and meetings goes?
I think AI is just another efficiency tool, right? Like a smartphone and the internet, like, oh, that's crazy stuff. But, now it's part of our day to day and workforce and vernacular. I think if used ethically and correctly, AI will just strengthen our position in regard to efficiencies and how we crunch data and how we tell the stories around that data and how we analyze things. So I think AI is a great tool to help with resources when a lot of planners do not have the time or the staff to be able to execute in a manner that is best for their company. So I think AI will be a great help.
Yeah, and it's a means, not an ends, and everybody
Yeah.
has to use it. And I think we're in very early days. We're in prehistoric days. I do try to keep abreast of it, what I do, and I've talked to a lot of people in technology that are using it and have woven it into every nook and cranny of their operation, and others that know about it and are cautious or unsure how to go about it. But I have seen meeting professionals use it as a starting point. Gathering maybe a foundation of understanding as far as artificial intelligence goes for meeting professionals, where an understanding at a baseline level can be gained by using artificial intelligence, and then shaping and crafting, whether it's a plan or a strategy for a meeting or an event that you want to conduct, and use it in that way as it's a tool. It's not the ends, it's a means, it's not the final result.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's shift gears again. How about it, Cheryl?
Yes, I feel like a sports car. Let's do it.
That's right. Feel like a sports car. We're going to take like a little mini ride into the past and into the future using the sports car metaphor or analogy. What are some of the more memorable bookings or surprising or both experiences with bringing in speakers that you can recall that would be useful for our meeting professionals to, learn about?
I find that again, knowing what your message is, what your objectives are. I mean, basic stuff like what is the point of your meeting? What are you trying to accomplish? And then that will just make it easier for everyone involved, including you, Seth, as we look at what type of speakers will, have that message resonate with us. I find the more interactive stuff, whether it's music or arts or photographs, those are the things that really engage our audiences as opposed to like a straight business talk.
Mhm.
And I think business talks are valuable, but you've got to find someone who does it in a edutainment, right? It's education and
That's right.
entertainment. I feel like that's where you've really helped me there is, I mean, you'll see a lot of people, whether on, TED Talk channels or you're listening to podcasts, but seeing them live and knowing how much they will work with or without you on their messaging, how flexible they are. Those are the nuances you don't get without like a speaker curator. So I feel like if you have those elements, then those are the things that are going to help your talks be more memorable.
Well said. Thank you. The evolution of the keynote speech or the keynote presentation is at a point now where no longer is the presenter, the keynoter, the speaker speaking at you or to you. Audiences are more sophisticated, more aware, and have a higher, stronger appetite for being interacted with. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to do exercises from the stage or from the front of the room or wherever you are in the room. But that type of engagement is where the keynote speech has transformed to. And those speakers that are able to do that are the ones that are providing the most value to your meeting and the most impact that's going to last for a long amount of time, as opposed to just speaking at you. We're coming to a little bit of the end, but I have one question for the younger Cheryl years ago. What advice would you have, or what direction, or what thoughts would you like to share with young professionals looking to start a career or at the beginning of their career as an event professional?
Wow. God, I was young so long ago. I mean, there weren't even any like hospitality or event planning degrees, which are very prevalent now. I think number one, get a degree. Like that's the bare minimum, whether it's in hospitality, hotel management, sports management, whatever. I won't look at a resume unless you have one. Take classes live or online on meeting planning. Like certifications are great. Everyone thinks you're a meeting planner, right? Just because you've planned a wedding, plan a bar mitzvah or a birthday, there's a lot of skills needed to be a meeting planner. Learn them right from the get-go. Budgets, site selection, the vernacular, that will help you. And then really get practical experience, even if that means volunteering. Are you, for an association or for a cause you love, you can even go to a florist or whatever and just get some practical experience. And then I think lastly is get a mentor in the industry or join a professional organization. I will tell you right now, again, I'm very successful by certain standards, but it's not because of me. It's because of the women and professionals and men and everyone before me that helped shape who I am today. And big thanks to my mentors and those professional organizations. And also really my team. They help me be better every day. And just constantly learn, with the surroundings that you have.
I can't echo enough the mentor, mentee, even if they don't know it in an official capacity, but somebody that you can go to, bounce ideas off of, share some concerns, and then maybe develop it into an official part of it. And that is something that, while it's so appealing, Cheryl, and so attractive to work from home and work remotely, the mentee mentorship relationship is challenged to develop and maintain remotely, right? That's one of the benefits of being in the office, those electric magical moments, whether it's in the hallway, the parking lot, the elevator, the water cooler, this break room, lunch. And I would just add, if I may, that active seeking out of your Jedi council, if you will, or those people that you can lean on for all different aspects, whether it's literally your professional development, or maybe an area of health and well-being, or personal relationships, or other adventures and activities that we are as our favorites. One of our favorite speakers, Tim Sanders, says your net worth is your network.
Yes,
and not like what can I get out of them, but how can I learn from and expand my own capacities by having this relationship in my network. And it's got to be intentional. It's got to be a back and forth, not just one way. But that I can't underscore enough, what you said there. And I've seen, both your direct reports and people under you, how they provide nutrition to your expanding development. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. And I know, mentor, mentee sounds exhausting and a larger commitment, but there's ways to do it. I'm a firm believer in micro or mini mentoring. If you just know someone who's an amazing speaker and you could say, hey, I'd like to learn, can I take 30 minutes of your time? And they're probably more apt to say yes to that as opposed to, oh my gosh, I mentored, an hour a month. So there's different ways to approach, as you said, to build your network in those relationships. It doesn't have to be a heavy lift on either party. And again, I feel mini or micro mentoring is also an option.
And that's a great way to really have a specific intention behind it and bring some efficiency to it and a dialed in focus where you know what a desired outcome, or at least what it would look like for you as far as what the end of it looks like. So, and it could just be getting ideas with no other intention, or a sounding board. I love that. Micro mentoring. Did we just come up with our own TED Talk?
Let's do it.
Well, Cheryl, we come to the part of our conversation where we take another shift, but a little bit of a harder turn into a little bit more lighthearted and whimsical part of it. We call it 20 questions because it's the spirit of 20 questions without technically being literally 20 questions. I'm going to fire some at you. What I ask and what my desire is that you give what's on your mind right away, a little bit of word association, rapid fire answers, and we can kind of burn right through this. Are you ready?
Go.
Ice cream, chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla and chocolate.
I hear you. You have room in your heart for all of it, right?
But yeah, it's a land of ands, not ors.
Gotcha. Social media, friend or foe?
I would say foe.
Gotcha. What are you watching right now on Netflix?
Gosh, I don't watch a lot of television. I don't have anything right now.
Okay. What's the last book you read or movie you saw?
The last book I read, always go back to The Alchemist.
Okay.
So I'm reading that now, but I have a couple books on my stack, but that's the last book I read.
When you're on the road, what makes you feel most at home?
My team.
Yeah. Like that immediate familiarity and comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. What location is next on your bucket list?
Seoul, Korea.
Very cool. Very cool. I think you're headed there in a month or two, a month and a half or so.
Yeah, I've never been, so very excited.
Yeah, really cool. Great food,
Yes.
among other things. Yeah.
I'm all about the
So
food.
my recent trip to Hong Kong, I did a beautiful, we went to a kind of a more rustic Peking duck place known for Peking duck, but we also did some wonderful dim sum. So I know you would have loved it. Yeah, it was really, really cool. If you could eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
It would have to be rice.
Yeah.
I think that's a staple. You can do a lot with it.
Yeah. What do you prefer? Beautiful mountain resort or beach, pool, on the water?
I would say beautiful mountain resort.
Lovely. You just came from one up in Canada, right?
I did, and there's lakes up there, so I could get the water feature if I needed to.
There you go. If you could be anywhere right now, where would it be?
Where I am now, I feel we need to be just present and be thankful for where we're at. So I'm good where I am.
Good. If you could do anything besides what you're doing, whether it's professionally or otherwise, what would you do?
I would be a professional cook, travel, TV host, and be paid to travel and eat.
I love it. I think I would dial into that show and I would try to find a way to be on production or a guest or a sous chef or something like that. I would take in any role in that event. Well, Cheryl, we've come to the end of this podcast, the end of our conversation, at least for now. We've left a little bit on the table. I always like to say, let's leave a little bit and maybe we can come back and see how things have evolved and transformed and revisit with some other avenues of our conversation. I know you're busy. I happen to know that because in a few days, I'm going to be seeing you at an event and you're planning for next year and you carve time out for our podcast. And it's just generous of you. And you were a lovely guest. I think there's a lot of value with what you shared with us. And I'm excited for our audience to be able to tune in and listen to it at any time, anywhere in the world. So just thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you, Seth. I appreciate every moment with you. Thank you.
Thanks for spending time with us today. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to our content. We'll keep bringing you the latest industry news and insights. Don't forget to follow us on social media so you never miss an update. And if you're looking for a keynote speaker for your next event, reach out to us directly or visit our website at thekeynotecurators.com.